Breaking right now, the CEOs of some big U.S. companies say they will continue to advise the White House, even after the president pulled out of the Paris climate deal. The CEOs now of Walmart, IBM, J.P. Morgan, Pepsi, and the Cleveland Clinic, all indicating they will remain in their roles on the advisory councils, opting basically to keep their seats at the table, whether or not they agree with the Paris Accord decision. Well, the president yesterday arguing that the agreement would shave $3 trillion off the U.S. GDP by 2040, also cost 2.7 million American jobs by 2025. Joining us now to debate the impact of that exit is former GOP Congressman from South Carolina, Bob Inglis, who now advocates for free market solutions to climate change through his group Republican, and also Robert Bryce from the Manhattan Institute. He's the author of numerous books on the environment and the economy, including his latest, Smaller, Faster, Lighter, Denser, Cheaper, How Innovation Keeps Proving the Catastrophists Wrong. That is a book title and a half. Thank you both for joining us. Robert, let me go to you first then. President Trump saying trillions off the GDP, nearly 3 million jobs lost by 2025. Is he way off target, or do you think he has a point?
Well, I think he does have a point in terms of where we are with the shale revolution here in the U.S. When you look at the United States and its position in the world, about 10 years ago, we were looking at being a massive energy importer, both of oil and natural gas. Last year, the U.S. was exporting, I repeat, exporting 5 million barrels a day of crude oil or crude products, and now we're also exporting huge amounts of liquefied natural gas. So I'm in favor of cheap energy. So what the Paris Accord, in my view, was going to force the U.S. to follow the lead of the European Union, and in particular countries like Germany, which have seen huge increases in their electricity costs. And I think that's regressive and the wrong way to go.
Bob, can you reply to that, to what Robert just said, that, look, cheap energy is a good thing, and he makes a good point?
Yeah, I don't want cheap energy necessarily. I want the full cost of energy on all the fuels. You know, Milton Friedman wrote a book in 1975, the title of which is No Such Thing as a Free Lunch. That's the case in energy. What we want is all the cost in on all the fuels, all the subsidies removed, and then the free enterprise system can deliver innovation. Right now what we have is the non-recognition of the negative externality, as the economists say. In other words, we allow fossil fuels to get away with hidden cost, health cost, climate cost. Those aren't attached to the meter, and therefore we as consumers don't feel our need. If we felt our need, we'd be demanding innovation, and entrepreneurs would be delivering it. We'd be growing the economy, and no, those numbers that Donald Trump was quoting yesterday would be proven completely wrong.
Robert, let me get back to you. There are those that
Sure.
say now that we're out of the agreement, we've isolated ourselves, we've aligned ourselves with Syria and Nicaragua, and that we're really, we should be a world leader, and we're opting out. Whether you believe to what extent humans have an impact on the climate, do you think that's a valid argument? We're kind of out of the scene.
Well, let me take on that one point about whether we're opting out. Did we, in fact, opt in? I think Eugene Kontorovich had a really good piece in the Washington Post yesterday. He said Trump is not quitting the Paris Accord. He said the United States was never in it in the first place. President Obama, remember, didn't submit this to the Senate for ratification. This is an agreement that would, in fact, require the U.S. to make massive changes in its overall energy infrastructure. That's a carbon tax. It didn't originate in Congress. Well, many other countries sent this agreement to their legislatures for approval. The Chinese, the Brazilians, the Brits, Japan. So the U.S. never even sent this to the Senate for ratification. Why? Because I think the president realized it wouldn't pass. So look, the U.S. is leading the world in reducing CO2 emissions. We've reduced our CO2 emissions on a percentage basis and on an absolute basis more than Germany has. And in fact,
that's a good point. Sorry to interrupt, Rob. We're running out of time.
Sure.
I want to get Bob's response to that, because we have reduced carbon dioxide or carbon releases. I think it's 18% since the year 2000, which is pretty good. And then this accord, Bob, is all very vague. It's all voluntary, and it costs a lot of money, 100 whatever it is billion a year, which could go up, which to me seems like, where does this money go? It could all go into the great abyss. I mean, is it a deal that is so vague that it doesn't really accomplish anything?
Well, it is important to note that it is non-binding, so it's hard for it to be draconian, as the president said yesterday at the Rose Garden.
So what's the point?
You can't be non-binding and draconian all in the same sentence. But the point is to try to figure out a way around, yes, the regulatory answer. That is a non-starter that really can cost us money.
Yeah.
But in a tax swap, tax carbon dioxide, untax income, repeal some Clean Air Act regulations that would become redundant, make that tax apply to imports as though they were made here, win the case in the WTO, and we have a worldwide agreement then without any international agreement, just simple American leadership.
Well, we're already out of time. We could literally spend the rest of the day and the weekend talking about it. But thank you so much, Congressman Bob Inglis and Robert Bryce. Thank you both for being here. The debate rages on. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.